Hey everybody, I want to welcome you to our first how-to video for the how-to video class. Real excited to do that. I'm Mrs. Scarato. I'm the principal of Summit Academy, and a lot of you know me, those who've been at Summit before, but there's a lot of new people that don't know me. And so that was one of the reasons I wanted to do these videos, is so you could get to know me, and later on even some of the other videos are going to be other office staff people, so you can get to know us through that as well. So today I'm going to be showing you how to make chocolate chip cookies. I've wiped off the counter. I washed my hands. We've talked a lot about cleaning and being clean now with the coronavirus, but when you're cooking, you always want to do that anyway. All right, so let's start with our ingredients. This is flour, and I'm going to show you how to measure. So I've done 1 cup here. It's a measuring cup. Dip it in, and then I just use a flat edge of the knife or any flat edge to scrape it off, so it's just right over the top. Put it in that bowl. Whenever you're using a knife or cooking with something hot, like we put the cookies in the oven, you'll want to have your mom or somebody close by to help. Scrape that off. The recipe calls for 2 1/4 cups, and I don't know if that ever happens at your house, but at our house today, the 4th cup measuring cup is nowhere to be found. So we're going to learn little fractions here. 16 tablespoons make a cup, and I need 1/4 of that. So I need 4 tablespoons. This measuring is 2. So there's 2. That's 4 for our 1/4 of a cup. Right, once I've used an ingredient, I'm going to set it aside so I can keep track of what I've put in and what I haven't. The next thing I need is salt, a teaspoon of salt. And I'll do that over the sink. And I can use my knife again. And then baking soda, teaspoon of baking soda. That has kind of a little flat edge in here, so I don't have to use the knife. Set those aside. And then we're going to stir that. Mix that up. And set that aside. The next thing we're going to do is cream our sugars and our butter. And so the recipe calls for 2 sticks of butter, and this is one thing I do a little bit different. I have a lot of people like my chocolate chip cookies, and I think this is one of the things that makes a difference. Instead of 2 sticks of butter, I use a 1/2 cup of Crisco. Crisco's a fat used in a lot of baking things like pie crust and that. And then I also have a stick of butter that I've softened in the microwave. It's already softened. Took it out of the microwave already. So 1/2 of the butter, only 1 stick, and then the other 1/2 is the Crisco. Now we'll start on my mixer. I've got a stand mixer. You might have a regular mixer. You can do cookies by hand too. It's just a little harder, a little more work. Get those going, mixed together. And then the next ingredient in baking, you usually do your butter, and you cream your butter and your sugar. And we need 3/4 a cup, so we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to have a 1/2 cup of sugar. And then for 1/4 a cup, we're going to do 2 of these. We also have brown sugar, the same amount of brown sugar. We'll go ahead and get those going. And now we'll do the brown sugar. And brown sugar, we want to pack down. So I'm just going to use my hand. Remember, my hand is clean. And you just pack it down in there. And it makes a kind of a lump. A little high. All right, next we've got 2 eggs. And I always like to crack them in a bowl first. That way if you get shell, the shell doesn't end up in your cookie. Okay, the recipe calls for a teaspoon of vanilla. I'm going to add a little bit extra. This is actually measuring for a teaspoon and a half. That's another one of my little tricks. I guess it was one of my mother's tricks because I'm making them the same way I grew up making them. We're going to get that a little bit going a little bit faster. All right, turn it slow as we add our flour. If you leave that fast and you add your flour, you're going to have the flour cloud coming out of your mixer. A little bit at a time. So as this is mixing, I can tell you a little bit about my job. I wanted you to get to know me a little bit better. So my office is in the front, up by the front desk, and I think the most important thing I do is probably try to set the tone for what's happening at Summit. Try to lead in that way to help teachers figure out what good classes would be to offer, things that would be helpful to offer for homeschooling families, work with teachers to come up with just good ideas for our program, help kind of organize things. Safety is a big part of my job. I have to organize all the safety, all our drills. Now with COVID, all the things having to do with COVID to keep us safe. The other thing is I get to manage the budget, which is how we spend our money. So that's kind of fun to do because I love to shop. So I get to shop for all kinds of fun stuff for Summit. And let's see, what else? Just trying to help everybody as far as students, even just wanting to make sure you guys are comfortable when you're there and help everybody, like I said, feel safe, feel cared for. Just hope that it's a really good environment for you to be out and learn. So now if there's a little bit left in here, I'm just going to pour it slower. Throughout the other videos, you'll get to meet Mrs. Martinez and Mrs. Mullane and Mrs. Wassmer, Mrs. Smith, Mrs. Lewis, all the other people at Summit. So remember, we're going to clean as we go, so I'm putting everything in the sink. Now this is the important part. It's going to mix a little bit. And then I want to show it to you. We're going to look at the batter. And we're going to see it's just a little bit sticky. And so what we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit more flour to it. You can do that. Sometimes it depends on the weather. The other thing you'll notice, the recipe tells you to add a little more flour if you're not going to add nuts. With sugar, we don't want sugar. It usually takes a little more flour, but you don't want to add too much. So I'm going to go ahead and add another 1/4 cup of flour, which means that's 2 of these. And see how that is. I already have my oven preheating. So you can see it doesn't stick to my fingers anymore. So that's good. That's just the right amount of flour. And now we're going to add in the chocolate chips. And you can do those by hand. It probably depends on your mixer. My mixer works fine to mix them in with the mixer, so I'm going to do that. Get a pair of scissors. And I'm using semi-sweet, is what you've got in your bag as well, so you'll have the same chips I do. Pour those in. If you like M&Ms, you can do those. Reese's Pieces, you can put anything in there you like. You can even add the nuts if you like. My kids, I like the nuts in them, my kids don't. But that's pretty quick in the mixer. You can see they're mixed in. And we're going to get that all off the beater. After I turn off the video, I'll lick the beater. Somebody in my house will, I'm sure. You guys will have to message me whether you like to eat the dough, whether you like the dough better or the cookies better. I think there are people in my house who actually like the dough better. This will make about 3 dozen pretty good sized cookies. So I'm going to slide my mixer way over here. I use a stone pan. I like the way it cooks on there, but you guys might just have a metal cookie sheet or an air cookie sheet. There's lots of different kinds of cookie sheets. You don't have to grease them. And I like using this little metal scoop too because they're all the same size. That helps them all bake evenly if they're all the same. If you don't have that, you can just use spoons. I'll show you how to do that. Just want to leave a little space between them. They smell really good. A little faster using this too. One of the other things you guys could do is I'm still trying to figure out some of the how-tos that we're going to be doing in the future. We might do some crafts, how to do some different types of jobs. I have a little plumbing job I was going to show you how to do, some simple things like that. If there's anything else you have some ideas for, you can send me those. Send me a message on Schoology too if there's something you feel like you're wanting to learn that we can teach you. I know one thing's coming up in the fall. A lot of us are getting our gardens ready for this. In the fall, you get your garden ready. So in the spring, it's ready to start growing your vegetables and your flowers. So we have somebody who's going to help us make compost. Lots of different things. So you can even message me if there's something you want to know, and we'll see if anybody knows how to do it and have somebody show us how. So here's my cookies. The first dozen is going in. We're going to put them in here. I already preheated the oven, so that's good to go. And while those are cooking, I'm going to go ahead and clean up my mess, and I will see you guys in a few minutes. All right, so our cookies are going to be done in just another minute. As you can see, I cleaned up the mess. I've got a trivet here, which is a hot plate to put the pan on. And remember, get your mom or something if you need help getting those. Get your mom to be with you when you get those out of the oven. Not if you need help, get her anyway. And let's see if they're ready. I think they're pretty good. My timer just went off. So I'll turn that off. Here they are. They're hot out of the oven. You can decide how you like yours. I could have cooked them a little bit longer. We like them a little doughy, a little soft. Some people like them a little more, a little harder, a little more cooked. Not burnt. Some people probably like even burnt cookies, but you'll see the edges, just kind of light brown on the edges is how we like them. And if you use all butter, remember I put the Crisco in, the edges can be real thin and almost kind of melted looking. You might like them that way. I like them this way, so we use the Crisco. So we're going to let those sit for just a minute. While those sit, I'm going to turn off my oven. Actually, let's see. Turn off my oven, and that way we'll have cookies a little bit. We're going to let them cool before we put them on the rack. Got a cooling rack here. Give them a few minutes. If I do it too soon, they break apart. So just to let you know a little bit more about me, for those of you who don't, I have 2 kids that went to Summit. Savannah still goes to Summit. She's my youngest. She is a senior this year, so it'll be her last year. My son Vinny graduated 2 years ago. He's in college now. So some of you may remember Vinny and know Savannah, and some of you don't because you haven't been there for very long. But that's been fun for me to watch them go all the way through Summit, and it's just fun to work with other kids and homeschool parents. So I'm excited about our year. It's a little different this year, but I still think we're going to have a good year. We want you guys to have a good year from home. So let me see if I can start taking these off. I think so. They're still a little soft, but they'll be okay. Put on my cooling rack. Again, you want to be careful because it's hot. And there they are. You can have them when they're warm. Milk and cookies is a great snack. And so I will see you next time on our video. Again, go ahead and message me in Schoology if you have any questions or if you have any other ideas for how-to videos. Hope you guys have a great night. I'm going to finish baking the rest of the cookies.